Right, so we're here at, of course, the War Memorial, and we're here with Aaron. Now, Aaron is called Aaron. What's your middle name? What's your middle name?
Eliezer.
That's right, Aaron Eliezer. And Eliezer is named after my grandfather. And whose medals are these? Pa's medal. That's right. That's my grandfather. And of course, we're here just before VE Day with our special thoughts for the commemoration of this war. Recently read an opinion piece talking about VE Day and talking about how we have to rethink it. And nowadays, it's sort of become this day where we think very simplistically of the war, a war between absolute good and absolute evil. I wasn't convinced by a lot of the things that I read in this opinion piece, but one of the things that I wasn't convinced about is that he talked about how many of the veterans are now all of the veterans are now referred to as heroes. He said, but many of them weren't. So I'd like to think about that in terms of Shabbat Emor, our parasha that we read this week. Emor begins with Moshe talking to the priests, talking to the future leaders of the Jewish people, and it begins with a sort of stuttered start, where he starts, Emor el ha-Kohanim va'amarta aleihem, speak to the Kohanim and speak to them, or say to them, say to the Kohanim, say to them, Emor va'amarta. Why this repetition? So Rashi quotes the Talmud, Lahazhir hagdolim al haktanim, to warn them that as great people, the smaller people, as it were, the other people, everyone else will be looking up to them, and they should realize that everything that they do has an impact. Emor, you say to them, Va'amarta, they will say ultimately to other people as well. And it begins, as I said, by talking about these great people, by talking about these heroes almost. And the question is, what exactly is a hero? So when I think back to my grandfather, I think of a hero. I think of someone who withstood tremendous suffering, who went through very, very difficult times, who fought against evil, really eyeball to eyeball, as Rabbi Sachs has said in the past. In a sense, we may look back and say, how is it possible for us to be heroes as well? How is it possible for us to be as great, for us to live up to what previous generations were able to do? Look at what they managed to accomplish. Look at the odds that they fought against. Look at the challenges that they faced. What is it that we are able to do in the face of similar challenges? And the reality is that the rest of Parashat Emor says, or reminds us, that every single person can be a leader. When it talks about Lahazhir Gedolim al Haktanim, the great people are going to be looked up to by the smaller people, by everybody else. The truth is that everybody in their moment, everybody at times, is that very great person. Later on in Emor, we read about the festivals, Asher Tikra'u Otam, that we have to call the festivals by their name. And our sages teach, Asher Tikra'u Atem, that it is up to us, it is up to each and every one of us to make the festivals holy. Sometimes we think of holiness as something which descends from on high. Only God decides what is holy and what is not. And the reality is this parasha teaches us that we decide what is holy. We decide what times are holy, whether Shabbat is a holy day, whether the festivals are a holy day, whether every single day is a holy day or not. We decide whether space is a holy space, whether that shul is something that is a holy space, whether our homes are spaces which we choose to use as holy spaces, and we decide which people are holy people, whether we are going to live up to values, to true values, to kindness and to goodness and to all the wonderful things that our Torah teaches. If we choose to live up to those values, then we are choosing to make ourselves holy, to make our lives holy, to make our actions holy. And in that sense, we become great, and to an extent, we become heroes. End by quoting another real-life hero, Christopher Reeve, who, of course, I remember from my childhood as an actor in Superman, but someone who also faced very, very great difficulties through his life. And what he said is as follows: a hero is an ordinary individual who finds the strength to persevere and endure in spite of overwhelming obstacles. We're living through, in a sense, overwhelming obstacles. And the ability that we have to be able to overcome those, to be able to be kind, to be able to be good, to be able to be moral, to be able to give to others through all of this, is what makes each and every one of us hero, what makes each and every one of us able to be great, and hopefully to live up to the memory of the great people who have come before us. Shabbat Shalom.